Can writing more thought leadership make you a better attorney? Yeah, it can. You know how doing one thing on a regular basis can help you become better at related things? For example, going to the gym helps you when you walk around the city, when you do steps, when you jog across the street. All of a sudden, you're in better shape because you go to the gym frequently. Well, thought leadership is just like that. Thought leadership is how you work out your mental muscles even when you are not doing billable client work. Generally speaking, writing thought leadership forces clarity of thought. When you sit down to write thought leadership materials, you've got to think clearly in order to write clearly. This is true when it comes to the substance of your thought leadership. Writing thought leadership is beneficial for gathering your thoughts on the implications of developments such as court decisions or regulatory actions or new legislation. Writing thought leadership is great for helping to gather thoughts on best practices, comparing and contrasting different approaches that you've taken before to certain issues on behalf of different clients who had different facts and circumstances. And it's certainly beneficial for synthesizing thoughts that you might have about the future when it comes to trends, predictions, taking information that you are getting in from various sources and synthesizing them to create thought leadership focused on the future. But writing thought leadership frequently is also beneficial for how you structure your thoughts, how you think about thinking. When you think critically for the purposes of developing thought leadership materials, you can actually improve your thinking and communication skills in other aspects of your career and certainly in life. First, writing thought leadership and thus doing the thinking required to produce that thought leadership forces you to come up with fully formed thoughts. Your half-baked ideas can't stay half-baked if you're writing about them. They're not going to be clear when you communicate them in your documents. If you can't explain something, then you probably don't fully understand it. Wrestling with those topics, wrestling with things that you're not sure about, and getting to a point of clarity, that's the benefit of thought leadership. Second, you get better at expressing your views more clearly. As you write more thought leadership, you can concisely convey what you have to say, hopefully without losing nuance. You can structure your arguments logically. You can lead the reader to a conclusion in the course of your 500, 700, 1200 word document. You become easier to understand in your content, which helps you become easier to understand in life, whether that's a client meeting, whether that is talking to opposing counsel, whether that is talking to your spouse and your children. Of course, the clearer you are explaining complex topics makes you seem even that more intelligent. Third, when you do the thinking necessary to create thought leadership consistently, it's going to improve your issue spotting. When you're regularly writing about the areas of law you practice or the industries that you serve, you're going to get better at seeing things that maybe other people don't and connecting dots that maybe other people aren't. Whether it's risks, whether it's trends, whether it's consequences, whether it's general connections between what's going on in the world and clients, legal and business issues, because you're forced to think more about what you do and how you help your clients because you're writing thought leadership consistently, you're going to connect dots more and issue spot better than people who aren't producing thought leadership regularly. Fourth, on a related point, when you are doing the thinking necessary to consistently produce thought leadership, it's going to help with your synthesizing ability. When you're producing thought leadership, you tend to take information from different sources. You're thinking about the work you do for your clients. You're thinking about legal issues that other clients might have. You're thinking about business issues, economic trends, global issues. You're taking all this information and coming up with thought leadership content that at its base concerns the work that you do for your clients, but you're actually pulling from a whole bunch of different sources to come up with those thoughts. That is going to complement the ongoing synthesizing you do as part of your billable work for your clients. Fifth, when you do the amount of thinking necessary to consistently produce thought leadership, it's going to help you sharpen your judgment and sharpen your ability to give your points of view. It gives you more confidence to express your points of view in your professional life and maybe even your personal life. If you think about it, the best thought leadership requires taking a stand and explaining in the thought leadership why a trend matters or maybe not, why a strategy might work or maybe not. The more that you are writing about the impact of a particular new court decision or legislation or some business trend or legal trend or any other issue, you get better at saying why things matter and what's important to a client and maybe what's not important to a client. That will help you in your professional life. When you're giving guidance, you're able to prioritize and explain to clients, this seems important, but it's not. And you develop that skill based on the thought leadership that you are consistently producing and having to take a stand in the thought leadership that you produce. Sixth, when you do the amount of thinking necessary to consistently produce thought leadership, you're going to start to see patterns easier And that'll help you, obviously, when it comes to advising clients. When you're consistently covering court decisions or regulatory agency actions or legislation or items in the news, you start to see patterns form. You start to realize that not everything is random. You start to see themes and patterns that you can highlight to your clients in your thought leadership, but also that you'll be able to find more frequently and highlight for them in the billable work that you do for them. Seventh and finally, the more thought leadership you write, the better of a thinker you become, because your thought leadership writing helps create a feedback loop on that thinking. Once your ideas are out in the world, people are going to react. Clients, referral sources, colleagues, random people from across the internet, they are going to push back, perhaps, on your thinking. They might ask follow-up questions. They might tell you that you were unclear regarding certain aspects of your article, or maybe they're going to push back and tell you that certain things are not as they seem, you got them wrong. This feedback loop is going to help you understand what you did wrong, what to work on in the future, and thus help you become a better thinker, because you are getting instant feedback on thoughts that you normally wouldn't get if you didn't share your thoughts with the world through your thought leadership. If you're an attorney, you're probably an intelligent person, which means you're already a decent thinker. But you can always improve your thinking. There's never a limit to how good of a thinker you could be. The more thought leadership that you produce, the better of a thinker you become. This will pay dividends in your legal career, in your business development efforts, and in your everyday life. If you're interested in learning more about the benefits of thought leadership and best practices for thought leadership as well, check out lawfirmeditorialservice.com. We have more than 500 videos, blog posts, and podcast episodes that can help you do just that.